Good evening, good morning, wherever folks may be coming from. I wasn't sure if I was even going to go live today, but so many different things happen from one day to the next. There's so much going on, there's so many things transpiring. You really don't know if you're going to be able to keep up with certain commitments. But here I am. Shout out to the replay gang, anybody that watches this in the replay. I know a lot of people probably didn't expect me to go live. But I did say I'll try to go live on the 1st and the 15th of every month if I can. I do have things to talk about. I do have things that I want to express. I will try not to be too long, too long-winded or anything like that. I'll try to make sure I put things in the proper perspective. Some things you may know about, some things you may want to hear about, some things you may not want to hear about. The content that I may talk about, the perspective that I'm giving is just my opinion, and it's my opinion alone. What's going on, Sis Dad? Thank you for coming through. Good to be with you here as well. Thank you for coming by. I appreciate anybody for coming by. Like I said, this perspective that I give is just my own perspective, my own opinion. I'm not saying it as fact. I'm not saying you have to love it, you have to like it, but this is just where I'm coming from. And hello to a lot of those folks out there. Hopefully, everything is safe and you're well with you and your family. So, I want to get into the first thing that I wanted to talk about. Uh, let's get into this. Let's just get into this. West Coast fires. Let's talk about the West Coast fires and stuff that's going on. People who died in California were ready to evacuate but reconsidered after enormous information. Basically, you know about the fires in Oregon, the fires in California. Things are it's bad out there. You know the air quality and is not good. You know what's going on with the news. You know you can check CNN, you can check MSNBC, you can check NBC, you can check all your local news outlets, your cable news online. You can find out the details about what's going on with the wildfires on the West Coast. And I do want to offer my thoughts and prayers to what's happening out there on the West Coast. And I do hope that if there's anybody affected, that you do get to safety, you do evacuate, you do listen to your local officials and stuff like that. What's up, Lava Master? I see you over there. So yeah, so the people out there dealing with these fires and stuff like that. Some people are saying it's climate change. Some people are saying it's mismanagement of the local government. What I say is this: the most important thing is that you preserve life. You know, we have things that we can replace. The West is burning up. It's craziness. Yes, it is craziness, and it's sad. You know, I mean, go where you want with that, but the main thing that I think about with that is preserving life. There are people out there that don't have insurance, and a lot of people out there, or for those that don't know, if you live on the West Coast and you live in these areas where there's wildfires, or you're on a mountainside, or you're in the forest somewhere, a lot of times it is hard to get insurance. It really is. It's difficult because if you're living in a place where there's wildfires every year, like it is, it can become a challenge. And my thing is not to browbeat anybody or to preach to anybody about any wildfires, anything like that, but it's to say that if you're in a situation or circumstances where you have natural disasters in your area, what I do try to encourage you is to listen to your local government officials, to pay attention to the news alerts, to take this stuff serious. It's just like here in New York when we had Hurricane Sandy. It was tough, but we went through it with Superstorm Hurricane Sandy. But we had to take it serious out here. There was evacuation orders that were given out. There were things that were passed down and put through. And then also too, what makes it harder is the whole thing with COVID-19. With COVID-19 happening and the poor air quality and the wildfires and businesses and all that stuff being destroyed, the socioeconomic impact along with the health impact is devastating. It's something that it can't be expressed enough, the devastation that comes from natural disasters, because no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, no matter your background, no matter what you believe in, what you don't believe in, what you espouse to, what you don't espouse to, natural disasters affect us all. And if anything, I just try to say preserve human life to make sure that you're able to save the pets, you save your children, save your spouses, because those other things that you've lost in the fire, the things that we've lost in the fire can be replaced. And I know it's hard sometimes because we have family heirlooms, we have things that are just dear to us. I was watching on BBC, British Broadcasting Network. The one guy from Oregon was talking about how everything he had lost in the fire, and he only had this, all his worldly possessions in one bag. Our ability to recover concerns me. Yes, it does concern me too, sis. That, but we have to still try to fight to recover nonetheless. There are survival tips and tactics that we can learn. There's things that we can do. I think all too often we take things for granted. We may have a lot of misinformation out there. Unfortunately, there's a lot of misinformation out there on what to do, what not to do. Sometimes people think that they have time. Anytime that you know there's a natural disaster coming and you have time to get out, get out. What's going on, Redneck? I appreciate you for coming through. Renegade for life. And I tell anybody dealing with any natural disaster of any type, of any kind, be it on the West Coast, be it in the Midwest, be it on the South, be it up north, pay attention to the announcements, pay attention to the advisory warnings, the weather advisories. Watch the news when it comes to that. If you don't want to watch politics, if you don't want to find out what's going on for the day, when it's a natural disaster coming up, whatever that natural disaster, pay attention. Take it seriously. Don't ignore it, because the life you save just may be your own. And there's a lot of people out there that I want to see make it through these wildfires or natural disasters, these earthquakes, these hurricanes, because people are forgetting that soon we're coming up on upon hurricane season. People forget, we have the wildfires, but that's how it starts a lot of times. We start with the wildfires, then we go into the hurricane season, then we go into the winter season. So there's a lot of things that are coming that we have to be aware of. Politics is so vile. I can't watch the news. I just get to weather online. Well, listen, Lama Monster, if you could just get the weather online, get the weather online. But I still tell people, pay attention to the weather. Pay attention to these natural disasters. Pay attention to, if you live in an area where it's earthquakes, to if you live in where it's wildfires, where it's any natural disaster that can affect you and affect the quality of living, can affect the health and well-being of your family. You need to pay attention to that. I can't stress enough how important that is to pay attention to, and evacuate if if it need be. Listen to the advisory warnings. Just like me right here, I live in a flood prone area. I may not want to evacuate and leave all my possessions and everything like that behind, but I would rather have my life than to try to hold on to my possessions and then lose my life or lose my family member's life because I didn't want to take, heed to the warnings that were being given. So again, like I said, my thoughts and prayers goes to everybody out there affected by natural disaster on the West Coast, on the East, anywhere in the world. Especially, there's a lot of stuff happening, stuff that's natural, things that are not natural, like what's going on in Lebanon and Beirut. That's a whole other disaster. That's a whole other conversation right there. It's a whole level of corruption. That's just for another time. Which, since we talked about politics, leads me into the next thing that I want to talk about: partisan politics, tribalism, you versus me, red versus blue, Antifa versus Black Lives Matter versus KKK versus whatever other hate group that's out there, and was non Q, any group that's out there. The tribalism is ridiculous that's going on right now. I'm not seeing anything new. And I say to people out there, just because you believe something different than me doesn't mean I have to hate you. Doesn't mean I have to dehumanize you. And I think that's the problem. It's a situation where just because you have a different political ideology than me, some people feel that it's okay not to see folks as, countrymen, citizens, Americans. I've had friends who are Trump supporters. I have friends who are atheists. I have friends who are Catholic, who are Jews, who are Muslims. I have friends who just don't believe in anything, as far as, like religion or stuff like that. I don't look at the person as if they're less than. You judge a person by, the content of their character, as Martin Luther King once said. Not by the color of their skin or the political party that they serve, or the political party that they're attached to. The thing is, I try not to dehumanize people. I pray for some folks out there, based on some of the stuff that they believe in. I'm not perfect myself. I'm not right about everything just because I'm into what I'm into. But I tell people, we need to see each other as human beings before anything else. Just imagine, just like I was talking about the previous subject, with wildfires and natural disasters. That wouldn't be a time to get into that. What's going on? I'm excited to see you as well, Cargo. I appreciate you for coming through. Yeah, this is my second live stream of the month. How am I? I'm tired. I was tired. I didn't know if I was gonna actually make this live stream, but here I am. I said I would be here, and I tried to make it, and I kept that. But back to what I was saying: the tribalism, the partisan politics, the you versus me, the red versus the blue, the conservative versus the Democrat, and stuff like that. I try to tell people see each other as human beings, because think about what we teach the kids. How we interact with each other is what we pass on to different generations. And I say to folks out there, regardless of what your ideologies, your backgrounds, your philosophies, the way you live your life, it shouldn't be a situation where I can't see you as a human being because you think differently than me. If you do, you have to remember that's negativity that you're passing on, almost like a generational curse. And that's crazy. People behaving badly is not acceptable. Yes, it's not acceptable, but it's also destructive. And it's destructive because, again, hate is something that's taught, is passed down. Who you think is going to win, Trump versus Joe? Who do I think is gonna win? You know what? I'll give you an honest answer. I have disdain for everyone equally until they can prove themselves. Well, Lava, nobody can prove themselves to you. I mean, you're just so far above us. I mean, reaching up to the llama, I don't know. But Eggman, as it stands with this election, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna give an honest opinion. I really don't know. It's a toss up. It may be a close one. It may be one of those things when it comes to election day we may be surprised, but some people will look at it like it's the lesser of two evils on either side. Creepy rich guy versus creepy rich guy. Enough said, right? No, I honestly don't know. You can flip a coin. It could be Trump. It could be Joe Biden. It could, hey, it could be Mickey Mouse. I don't know. I don't know who's going to come out in the last minute. It could be Kanye West. It could be the birthday party. Sadly, I think Trump. Well, listen, Eggman. I mean, that's your right. If anything, I tell people out there, just don't be afraid to vote. Don't be afraid to participate in the process if you feel that there's something that's going on civically. You know, get involved, be active, find out what's going on, try to be engaged. Yeah, Kanye, the birthday party is gonna win. Seriously though, are those two really the best we can do? No, Llama Monster, those are not the best we can do, but that's where we are. That's what happens. And it's our job that, as citizens, as people who are part of this country, who should be or involved in the political process, unless you're religious or apolitical or whatever the case may be, to just find out, how do you get somebody into office? What is the electoral process like? What is the primary, situation set up? How does that work? And it begins to look at the policies and ideologies and philosophies of these candidates. But like I said, I'm not getting into how you pick a presidential candidate. That's above my pay grade. That's above my notch, above my rung. As far as it goes, Eggman, I don't know who's going to win. It could be Trump, it could be Joe Biden. Either way, regardless of who wins, in November 4th, we're still going to have issues that we need to address. People need to take third parties more seriously. I do agree with that, Lama Monster. People do need to take third parties more seriously. They do. But I got to move forward. I don't want to stay too long on that. I have to get into exploitation, and what is exploitation? This is gonna this is gonna pay dividends in a few minutes. I have to get into that. We're gonna talk about what it is to be exploited. Exploitation. I gotta give the definition because I don't want to exploit. Exploitation by definition. Exploitation by definition, the action or fact of treating someone unfairly in order to benefit from their work. That's the noun. Two, the action of making use and or benefiting from resources. Okay. Now, you've seen many examples, people being culturally appropriated, you know, because of, maybe it's hip hop, maybe their race, maybe their sexuality. There's different reasons why people get exploited. There's different reasons why, when it comes to money, it comes to, just trying to get the upper hand or get resources or, position something in a particular way. And there's a reason why I'm going into exploitation and I'm talking about it. And I'm not really trying to spend too much time on exploitation because you can extrapolate and gather for yourself what it is to be exploited, what it is to be used, what it is to be abused. And in a minute, I'll get into why that's important because sometimes people don't understand the difference between somebody who is wronged or somebody who is just exploited, maybe against their will, maybe not to their knowledge. There's different things that happen and come about when it goes to that. And that leads me to my final topic. And I don't know if anybody has heard, maybe you have, but I will get into it right now. And it is the movie Cuties. I don't know if you heard of the movie Cuties and the hashtag cancel Netflix, situation as far as how that goes. Cuties is a movie. Um, how can I say this? I'll go with what they said off of the idea of IMDb. Cuties is a 2020 French coming of age comedy drama film written and directed by French Singhalese. I don't know how to say her name. I'll let you see it. I don't know if you can see it there, but a French Singhalese director is in her featurette directorial debut. And the film stars Fatua Youssef, Mahed El Ahmoud Azina, and some other girls' names I can't pronounce. Now, eh, the plot revolves around a French Senegalese girl with a traditional Muslim upbringing who is caught between traditional values and internet culture, according to the filmmakers. The film is intended to criticize the hypersexualization of pre adolescent girls. Okay. Now, here's the problem. This is why I go into exploitation. In an attempt to criticize hypersexualization of pre-adolescent girls, the movie and the director actually exploits the sexualization of pre-adolescent girls. And it's done in poor taste. And there's this whole cancel Netflix culture. Got to get going. This is such a powerful live. Thank you. I didn't know you was there. I didn't know you was there, but I appreciate you for being there. You was in the background. And the thing about it is, it's exploitation. Some people are saying the word I don't like to say, the P word, or it's pedophilia and whatnot. And just to try to put it in, God be with you as well, Maria. To put it into context, it's exploitation because of the fact that these young girls may not understand or may not be aware or may not know, especially coming from a French perspective. I'm not trying to, demean them or tear them down or whatnot. It's a big thing and it's a hard subject for me to tackle because I don't have kids. So I don't have any little girls and whatnot, but it's something that I wouldn't want my niece and nephew to watch. And it's something that if you do come across, you'll know exactly why. It's a challenge for me to try to describe and tackle the subject because it is such a challenging thing. It's exploitation, and Netflix has come about and said that they're defending their stance and saying they're speaking out against something. But you have a way of speaking out against something, and in the way of speaking out against it, you actually highlight it in a way that's negative, in a way that's misguided, that's thrown off. You're trying to make a point, your point gets lost because what happens is you have people out there who have sexual deviance. You have people out there who will gravitate towards this material, and they'll look at it and they'll use it as a way to, get their rocks off, pleasure themselves, or do whatever it is that they do. And I think Netflix has actually misstepped when it came to Cuties. I think it's something that should have never been made. I think it's something that should have never been put on the site. I think it's something that, warrants I missed it. Don't use Netflix. Well, I tell you, says that don't use Netflix. If you see the posters, if you see the actual promotional videos of Cuties, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, and you'll know exactly why this is such a controversial issue. Because myself, when I looked at the whole Cuties thing, I saw it and I dismissed it because I have Netflix, and I didn't want to watch it. And then I looked online and I seen hashtag cancel Netflix. I encourage anybody to go online and see hashtag cancel Netflix, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So I went on change.org and I signed a petition to remove Cuties from the website because in trying to make a point, it misses the point just because it's so far sighted from what it is. This is beyond Netflix making a point. This is straight up an endorsement. Yeah. Netflix misstep, and I get what they were probably trying to do. They were probably trying to highlight and speak out against something, but it's a way to speak out against something. It's a way to do something in an appropriate way, as not to defend or demean, or exploit these young women, these young actresses even if they don't understand. They may be happy to have a role and they did what they did and they act in, and they're making it come up, especially with the French director. It's a lot of backlash behind it, and it's fairly warranted, because you find yourself in a situation when you're watching this and you say to yourself, what happens for the person who is a victim of certain types of abuse, or they do have children who've been abused, or they're in situations where they've been exploited. It's insensitive, it's exploitive, because of the fact that it doesn't take stock of all the different people that have been affected by the way that people can be exploited sexually. And for those people that are into that, for those people that want to see that and warrant that, you know by all means, who am I to tell you you can't be? But there's so many people that are dealing with issues, sexually. There's so many people who had issues as a child that have dealt with things, and I think it was an insensitive move on the part of Netflix not to actually see what was going on, from the people. And like I said, this is a hard subject to tackle because it is so deep. And the only thing I can really tell you is just to check out the campaign, or to check out the hashtag cancel Netflix, and find out what that is all about. It could do a better job, a much better job than what I'm doing, of trying to explain that and break it down. I'm just here to say that it's a movie that should not have been released on Netflix just because of the potential for it to be exploited and used in negative ways, and the message that it sends to people out there, especially in an insensitive way, because the message gets lost because of how the portrayal is put out there, because of how the promotional material was put out there. And it was put out in an insensitive way that could offend and trigger a lot of people, and it's warranted. And it's not something that I feel that I'm qualified to totally speak on, but that's what it is. What's going on, Jazz Poet? So, when it comes to that, I definitely think Netflix overstepped their bounds, and this is something that Netflix need not ignore, because it's something that could potentially affect them and have adverse implications, far-reaching, than what they may understand beyond the subscription. This is bigger than a subscription. When it comes to Cuties and the whole cancel Netflix thing, it comes down to this big question: who are you allowing to influence your children, and what are you, letting them see? How does this affect them? These are things that people are not taking stock of. Who's watching that? Who is that for? Who is this audience target? They said it was a comedy. If you ever seen Cuties, if you, it's, it. I didn't find it funny. Against human trafficking, I hate serial killers, but with kids do ballet or hula dance and something like that, TV or serial moms dancing is worse. Well, Eggman, all I can say is this: when it comes to Cuties, especially the last 10, 20 minutes of it, you'll exactly see what the outrage and what all the stuff is. The first 40 minutes is okay. But then you get to the end of the movie and you see some of the things that they're doing, that these 11-year-old girls or pre-adolescents or whatever are doing. It'll make you question where we're going as a society. And it's like the question many people have asked, is this where we are as a society? Is this what we're into? Are we doing this right now? And when I saw Cuties on Netflix, it made me question a whole bunch of things. What is the message? What are you trying to say? And some people said that, especially from France, they have a history of exploiting the sexuality of the culture, be it young, old, or whatever. And I really am on the side of people that are against this. And I have to rethink, whether or not I'm even going to stay on Netflix myself, because this is something that you can't let slide. Because what if I had a kid? And for those people out there that have young girls or young boys, or anybody out there that's struggling with, sexual deviant behaviors or whatever the case may be, this is not a helpful situation to spark conversation. It is worse than ballet to me. It promotes starvation. I don't know what that part is about, but I definitely have to read back on the comments that you were saying. And on that, like I said, I wasn't trying to get too heavy on this live stream, but I just wanted to bring up a couple of those issues. And shout out to anybody watching in the replay, and I'll timestamp all these different things. And you could say whether or not you agree with the things that I'm saying. If there's questions that you want to pose and things that you want me to respond to, feel free to put them in the comment section, after I upload this video. Feel free to do your own response video. Feel free to say whatever it is that you want to say to me. Find me in the community section if you have a conversation that you want to continue based on anything that you've seen in this video. I do appreciate you folks for watching. I agree with your wisdom in these matters. I appreciate you, Lama Master. I agree with your humor in these matters as well too. But again, like I said, I don't pretend to have all the answers to these particular things. I don't pretend to be wise beyond my years. This is just my perspective. I'm not saying I'm right about everything. I'm wrong about particular things, and I acknowledge that. There are things that I'm not qualified to speak on because I do not have the experience or the level or the wisdom or the knowledge behind it. But I am trying to speak on these things because it needs to be said. Always time well spent on part. Thank you. Thank you as well, Sis Dad, and I appreciate you as well. And sincerely, be safe out there, folks, because we got a lot going on, with shootings and wildfires and natural disasters of all types and COVID-19 still running around, all types of financial issues and situations happening. So I do want folks to be safe. Until next time, it's yours truly, Mel Mel. Take care, spread love. It's the Brooklyn way.